In the shadowy corners of the internet, the word Skinwalker has come to denote a vague, frightening wilderness entity, a creature whose form changes with every creepypasta, Reddit post, and TikTok video. It might be a gaunt, pale figure crawling on all fours at the edge of the tree line. It might be an uncanny-looking deer that stands on two legs, fixing you with a stare that belies uncharacteristic intelligence. It might be a mysterious voice calling your name from the woods, resembling the timbre of a friend or relative whom you know for a fact is not there. This formless, protean nature of the internet Skinwalker is a quality it shares with the ancient native legend from which it derives. For untold generations, the Navajo of the American Southwest have spoken of a certain dark art practiced by unscrupulous medicine men, sorcerers who, through the execution of arcane rituals, transform themselves into animals. The English term for these malevolent shamans is Skinwalker. Although the Skinwalker is properly a figure of the southwestern United States, stories of shape-shifting medicine men can be found among the traditions of Canada's First Nations. In previous pieces, we have touched on an old tradition common to both the interior and Coast Salish peoples, which holds that all animals, in the primordial past, could shed their skins like cloaks, casting off their bestial forms and transforming into human beings at will. We have explored stories of native werewolves, men and women whom, by dint of curses, occult rituals, or their inborn natures, were said to have the ability to transform into wolves. We have touched on the Inuit legend of the Idgerate, mysterious Arctic mountain dwellers who could assume the form of caribou with red eyes, the Montagnais tradition of the Caribou Man, who haunts the tundra of northern Labrador, and the man-eating deer people of Kootenai lore, said to have once prowled the Rocky Mountains in search of human flesh. In this piece, we will delve into more stories of shape-shifting medicine men from the smoky chronicles of native Canadian tradition. Perhaps the closest parallel to the Navajo Skinwalker in Canadian folklore is an evil medicine man called a Bearwalk or Bearwalker, a sinister character common to the legends of the Anishinaabe nations. In the 1977 issue of Reprints in Anthropology, American anthropologist James H. Howard included a note on the Saulteaux or Plains Ojibwe interpretation of the Bearwalk. The Saulteaux or Soto are a branch of the Ojibwe, whose name derives from their ancestral homeland in the Sault Ste. Marie region of Ontario and Michigan. Compelled by the dynamics of the fur trade, the western Saulteaux left the eastern woodlands for the prairies in the late 18th century, adopting many aspects of plain Indian culture. In his piece, Howard often referred to these western Saulteaux as the Bungi, a name which has also been applied to the Scots Cree Métis of Manitoba's Red River Valley. Though the Bungi are not plagued with the fear of witches, which haunts many woodland Ojibwe and Ottawa communities, Howard wrote, they do speak of bearwalks on occasion. These people, according to belief, have the power to change themselves into animals or birds in order to avoid recognition. They can, however, be detected by their luminous green eyes, even when in animal or bird form. Bearwalks are fond of robbing graves, particularly the graves of children they have killed with their bad medicine. From the corpse they steal the tip of the tongue and the heart, which they dry, powder, and mix with herbs in their evil potions. Southeast of the Saulteaux heartland, in the forests of upstate New York, the Seneca Iroquois told tales of a similar sorceress who had the ability to transform into animals. One such story appears in New York Iroquois archaeologist Arthur Caswell Parker's 1923 book, Seneca Myths and Folktales. Parker's story, which he received from an informant named Fred Kennedy, tells of a sick Iroquois woman inflicted with what was described as a wasting disease, perhaps tuberculosis. Every night while lying in bed, the woman spotted the silhouette of some indiscernible figure peering through the cabin window. When her husband went outside to investigate, however, the mysterious visitor was nowhere to be seen. One night, after a heavy snowstorm, the woman's husband spotted the tracks of a large dog outside the bedroom window. Following the tracks to the road, Parker wrote, he saw that they became human footprints and were lost in the other tracks at the side of the road. The next morning, Parker continued, among the friends that called upon the sick woman was an old lady who lived near the creek in a small house. She was a widow and lived alone. This old lady asked about the sick woman in such a peculiar manner that the husband grew suspicious. After the old woman left, the sick woman began to feel much worse. That night, the sick woman saw her frightening visitor again, leering at her through the window. She screamed for her husband, who ran outside and saw a fresh pair of dog prints leading from the window to the road. Upon questioning the neighbors who were out that night, he learned that a large dog had been spotted running down the road. Further investigation revealed the tracks of a large dog running along the fence of the old widow who had visited his wife. At the point where the dog had apparently leapt over the fence, the man found human prints in the snow on the other side. The following day, the same old woman visited the man's sick wife, inquiring after her health in the same strange manner as before. The man accused the old woman of witchcraft and warned her that he would punish her if she persisted with her hex. The old woman denied the accusations and left the cabin. That night, the husband resolved to catch his wife's mysterious visitor in the act. He kept a silent vigil in his woodshed, sitting with a blanket around his shoulders and a rifle on his lap, within earshot of his wife's bedroom window. After a while, Parker wrote, he heard a sniffing sound, and presently heard something walking around the house. Cautiously, he looked out and saw the dog with its paws on the windowsill of his wife's room. Fire was coming out of the dog's eyes. The husband now ran out and chased the dog, which ran down the road. There were many people on the road, for it was moonlight, and it was sleighing time. They saw him chasing the dog. It ran to the fence and jumped over. As it poised in midair of the fence, the man fired his gun. There was a yelp, and the people saw something shoot through the air and jump into the window of the cabin. The people watched this and looked over the fence, but there was no mark or track on the snow except some dog hair. 3 days later, the people went to the house and found the old woman dead on her bed, with a bullet in her heart. There was dog hair on the window where she had dived through. It was sure then that she had been a witch. The sick woman recovered. If you'd like to watch this video without ads, please consider becoming a member of this channel and watching the ads-free version instead. You can do this on your phone or desktop by clicking the picture of my face and then clicking the join button to the right of the subscribe button. Since times are tough, I've decided to add a lower membership tier, which will give you access to my members-only videos for only $1 Canadian per month, or about 72 American cents. Sorry for the interruption, and enjoy the video. Legends of human-animal shapeshifters can be found further to the west, on the prairies of what is now southwest Alberta and northern Montana. In their 1908 article, Mythology of the Blackfoot Indians, which was published in the 1909 issue of the Anthropological Papers of the Museum of Natural History, American anthropologists Clark Whistler and David Charles Duvall included an old Piegan Blackfoot legend, which contends that wolverines have the ability to transform into human beings. These Indians have a belief that there are animals with power to change into human beings, the anthropologist wrote. Of these, the wolverine is one. It often happens that when a man is out hunting, or sitting alone by his campfire, a very handsome woman will come up. Now, if he offers her some of the entrails from his butchering, she will take them daintily between the thumb and forefinger, and then throw them away. This is the sign by which she may be known. Should the man take up his gun, the woman will run away as a wolverine. On the other hand, should he allow her to come into camp and engage in familiarities, evil will follow. As soon as he gets home and smells the fire of the lodges, he will fall down dead. Sometimes he will only faint when he smells the fire of the lodges, but even then he will never be the same person again. When men go out to hunt, they are often reminded to keep a lookout for the Wolverine Woman. When a woman is out alone, the Wolverine Woman will appear as a fine young man. If the woman permits herself to be seduced, it will be bad for her. As a rule, her people will never hear of her again. But should she start back to camp and smell the fire of the lodges, she will surely die. In a footnote, the anthropologist compared the Blackfoot legend of the Wolverine Woman to the Deer Woman of the Dakota Sioux and the Wolf Woman of the Pawnee. The Blackfoot were not the only natives of the Northwestern Plains with stories of human-animal transfiguration. In his 2010 book, Maskapatoon, Canadian historian Hugh Dempsey included an old tale of the Rocky Mountain Cree related by a brave named Samson, the younger brother of the revered chief for whom Dempsey named his book. Sometime in the mid-1800s, Samson and 10 lodges of Rocky Mountain Cree left their alpine haunts and headed onto the prairies of what is now southwest Alberta, believing that their Blackfoot enemies had gone east in search of buffalo. While riding his horse along the Old Man River in search of a good fishing spot, Samson spotted a stranger walking towards him on a buffalo trail. Without so much as a greeting, the stranger informed Samson that, if his band did not break camp immediately and return to the mountains, they would be met in the morning by many enemies. After delivering his message, Dempsey wrote, the man walked away, and as Samson watched in amazement, he turned into the shape of a buffalo. Samson was truly scared. He thought it was an illusion. Nothing like this had ever happened to him before. Samson returned to camp and told his fellow band members about the buffalo man he had met, relaying his frightening prophecy. The Mountain Cree did not believe him and decided to spend the night in the area. That night, the dry prairie air was rent by the cries of coyotes. One of the Cree, who was said to understand their language, said that the little wolves were proclaiming the same message as Samson's buffalo man, that a large party of enemies would advance upon them at sunrise unless they headed immediately for the mountains. This injunction, too, was ignored. The next morning, Dempsey wrote, just when the sun was rising, they were attacked by a large war party of Blackfoot. Samson escaped, but almost all the others were killed, and their horses stolen. They had not listened to the warning of the buffalo spirit. Whether regarded as guardian spirits, animal seductresses, or evil witches, shapeshifters occupy a place of importance in the traditions of Canada's First Nations. From the Bearwalks of the Anishinaabe to the Wolverine Woman of the Northern Plains, these entities embody the disturbing notion that the boundary separating man from beast is thinner than conventional wisdom contends, a line which, through the action of powers beyond our understanding, might be crossable.